The UFC 294 press conference just happened, and I thought it was a really good press conference. And before I get into it, because Islam Makhachev has been talking a whole load of smack, calling Volkanovski a money-hungry, greedy guy that's only here for the big payday, which couldn't be further from the truth. Before I get into all of this, the back and forth between Khamzat and Usman, Khamzat disrespecting Usman a little bit, Usman pretending that he wasn't able to hear Khamzat Chimaev, which is a crafty veteran trick. But I just need to say this. Thank God the UFC didn't have Makhachev and Johnny Walker on stage, or any of the prelims guys on stage, because nobody gives a fuck about what they have to say, all right? The press conference is for selling the fight. It's for bringing in hype. There's not going to be anyone that gets excited when Makhachev answers a question, even if they're Russian. Nobody is going to get hyped when Johnny Walker answers a question in his big, happy face smile, talking about how Makhachev a good guy. He's a good guy, man. I'm just here to fight. We don't give a shit. The UFC is finally starting to get it through their heads that the only thing that's important at a press conference are the spotlight fights where there's some heat on them. You know what I mean? The main event, the co-main event, and that's about it. Islam Makhachev, dude. He keeps bringing up the same bullshit over and over again. It's actually starting to piss me off. And I'm surprised that Volkanovski didn't call him out for this. Everything that Makhachev said ended with a statement along the lines of, and he's just here for money. This guy's just showing up for money.
You don't need nothing, just money. Everybody know why you come.
You say that I need the
how much?
Let's go, guys.
Tell the people how much more they give you for the took the fight.
Hey?
How much you make money?
It's well deserved, mate. Don't worry about that. But hey.
Now
like
you understand.
All these guys, they want money on short notice. He can't wrap his head around the idea of there being another guy that's not from his culture, right? That's from a Western culture that is as pure in spirit when it comes to their competitive nature as he is. He just can't fathom it. How can this guy possibly be as much of a pure competitor as me when he's in a culture that's all about the money? Now, don't get me wrong. There are reasons as to why people in Makhachev's shoes don't value big $1 million paydays as much. Number one, it's because they're from a different culture. Number two, it's because money goes a lot further in Russia than it does in Australia, okay? $2 million, you give that to a Russian, it makes a much bigger difference than it does if you give it to an Australian who's living in Australia. So that's another reason. But this idea that Volkanovski's just showing up for a big payday, like, yes, he probably wouldn't have taken the fight if it was for free. But that doesn't change the fact that he's there for legacy, bro. He's not showing up for a fucking payday. And this is his only trash talking point. Because once again, he doesn't like the idea that there can be some Western guy, right, from this degenerate Western culture that could possibly be as headstrong and as disciplined as him. He doesn't like that at all. And Volkanovski is someone that is known for his iron resolve, his competitive nature, and everyone in their right mind that's going to be honest with themselves knows that Volkanovski is showing up to prove that he's the best fighter in the world. He likes to test himself, all right? Makhachev, if the roles were reversed, would have never have taken this fight ever. Even if it was at welterweight and he could make weight, he wouldn't do something like this because he isn't as obsessed with competition as Volk is. I think Volk is more obsessed with competing and proving himself than Makhachev. I think both of these guys are obsessed. But if you're going to give one of those guys the edge, I think Volkanovski's the guy that's more obsessed with the sport than Makhachev. So this idea that he's just here for money, yes, it makes a difference. Let's not act like it doesn't mean anything. I'm sure he loves the fact that he's getting paid. That's not the number one reason why he's showing up. If you're going to accuse anyone of just being about the money, it ain't Volk, okay? Again, can't fathom the idea, can't wrap his head around the idea that Volkanovski is as hungry as him when it comes to just pure competitive sport, okay? I didn't like that from Makhachev. I think that Volk should have called him out for it. Another thing that I noticed is that Makhachev kept bringing up the fact that he didn't have a lot of time to rehydrate between his last fight with Volkanovski, between the weigh-ins and the fight itself. He only had 30 hours in Perth, and now he's going to have 40 hours in Abu Dhabi. And Volkanovski was using this as a reason to say, listen, you're coping. You're coping. If you think 10 hours is going to help you, if you think that 10 hours is going to make a difference, well, you have another thing coming and you're in for a rude awakening because it's a skill set reason, buddy.
I have time for the...
What things? Get it out there. What things?
Man, when the beginning event in Australia? When? 5 in the morning?
Well, 5 in the morning what? Well, you're telling me 30-something hours
What
isn't
time
enough?
we fight? What time?
How many hours do you need
10
rehydration?
a.m. I need usually
Mate,
what we have.
I don't need any of that. I'll fight on zero hydration.
You don't need nothing, just money.
I think Volkanovski's not being realistic. Now, of course, he's just amping himself up before the fight. But 10 hours does make a difference. I think that Volkanovski's just trying to psych himself up to not get into this mentality that, oh, he's going to be stronger. Because I'm sure that the last time he fought Makhachev, he was probably thinking a whole lot about the strength and the physicality of Makhachev. Whereas, he went through that fight and he was able to mitigate that. He was able to get out of the bad spots. He was able to stuff takedowns, and the strength wasn't a big issue for him. And that does a lot for his confidence going into this fight. So he doesn't want to cloud that and think, well, it's going to be even worse this time. He is going to be strong now. So I get why he's trying to psych himself up. But Makhachev is going to be bigger. He is going to be stronger. He's going to be someone that has a better ability to take a shot, better gas tank. So, Makhachev is definitely bringing that up a whole lot, and Volkanovski shutting it down, trying to not let those thoughts enter his mind. Now we got to talk about Usman and Chimaev because they had a great back and forth. I was worried that Khamzat was not going to get into it with Usman, and he was going to be super laid back and respectful and just be above all the trash talk and beyond all the days of screaming at press conferences and weigh-ins, and he's a different person now. He's grown up. Thank God that's not the case, because Khamzat's actually getting a little bit amped before his fight. He is being himself. And their trash talk was spurred on by Usman being asked about the difference between mountain wrestling, Dagestani and Chechen style of wrestling, versus American wrestling. And Usman was saying, I'm the best when it comes to mixing it up. I may not be the best wrestler, I may not be the best striker, but I'm the best at mixing the two. And Khamzat said, you're not the best at anything, brother. You're not the best at anything because you lost your last 2 fights. How can you call yourself the best?
When it comes to mixing it up, I'm the best in the world.
That's why you has lost, yeah, brother? What? That's why you lost twice or third time, I don't know.
That's what?
If you're the best in the world, brother, you can't lose the fight.
And Usman, as always, crafty veteran move from Usman, pretending that he doesn't hear it. Putting his hand up to his ear, looking at Dana White, asking for help, asking Dana to help him understand what he just said. So let me get this straight. You can't hear Khamzat Chimaev, who's speaking on a microphone, but you can hear Dana White that'll lean past the microphone so he's not actually loud anymore. And you can hear Dana White that's getting drowned out by the crowd, but you can't hear Khamzat. Unbelievable, typical Usman craft book move from the Crafty Veterans Handbook.
I mean, start to be a coach. It's better for you. Maybe build a head healthy for you.
maybe be a healthy for you, bro. What the hell are you saying, Khamzat? But I love that response from Khamzat. The broken English trash talk is just fucking awesome, man. So I love the back and forth that they had. And another thing that was fucking hilarious, bro, is when they asked about Paulo Costa and Khamzat gets so visibly upset, and you know that Khamzat's mad when he slams the mic. It's a delayed slam. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. He always does this at press conferences.
I went home, man. Hey, shit himself, man.
Oh, would you ask about Paulo Costa? I didn't hear you, but I assume.
Need that guy here, man. You fuck him up, man.
Apparently, he's traveled across the land to try to get away from Khamzat's hotel. Khamzat, in his little Mac Life media interview yesterday, was talking about how he's even thought about jumping Paulo Costa with 100 guys, which is hysterical because Paulo Costa is calling him, gourmet Chen. You know what I mean? Innocent trash talk. And it's above the line. It's over the line for Khamzat Chimaev. Over the line. He can shit on Usman being an old man having no knees, say Usman's better off being a coach, but God forbid Paulo Costa calls you a gourmet chicken. That's just crossing the line too much. Another interesting moment was when a reporter brought up Anshul Jubli, who is the first ever Indian UFC fighter that's going to be making his UFC debut this weekend, even though he's fought in the UFC already, but it was actually a finale for the road to the UFC. But my point is, as soon as this reporter brought up Anshul Jubli, you could hear heavy boos from the crowd. Dana was confused. He didn't know what the hell was going on. We're not even in Pakistan. What's going on? And that's exactly what it is. It's this animosity that they have against Indians, I guess, because of the rivalry between Pakistan and India, and that's deeply rooted, and they're riding for Pakistan. I thought it was immature. Listen, Come on, let this guy be proud of Anshul Jubli making it to the UFC. Other than that, the press conference was good. I'm happy that they didn't fuck around with Magomed Ankalaev or Johnny Walker and any of these other guys. But let's talk about the stare down now. Kamaru Usman looks very big, and I was expecting Khamzat Chimaev to tower over him, and he didn't. He did not tower over Kamaru Usman. And one thing I have to say is this. I've heard some people saying, Usman doesn't look that different. He kind of looks the same. He's going to be a lot smaller than Khamzat. The fact that Usman doesn't look a whole lot different in these pre-fight photos that you're seeing of his physique is an indication that he is a massive, massive welterweight. You have to take this into account. When guys move up a weight class, especially when it's a 15-pound jump, they usually look a whole lot different because they're carrying a whole lot more flab. Just look at Alexander Volkanovski's physique photos that have been surfacing recently. He doesn't look big at all for lightweight. He may have, you know, a good amount of weight on him, but he doesn't look impressive. He doesn't look lean. He doesn't look shredded. If you look lean at 185, okay, if you look just as lean as you were at 170 or damn near even, that means that you've put on a lot of muscle in the offseason. And Kamaru Usman is looking a lot bigger than he normally would. So I expect Kamaru Usman to be pretty big in the cage. But anyway, guys, that's it when it comes to the press conference. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time.
What is up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to let you guys know that I have something for you. And that's a real food cookbook. Because if you're walking around looking like Chris Dawkins, you got to get that weight off. I don't know if you think you're DC or something, but most people usually don't perform at their best when they're walking around with 30% body fat. So if you're trying to lean out and you still want to eat good, tasty, comfort foods, well, you could check out my Real Food Cookbook because I've made it a purpose to have good, tasty foods that you can still eat just without all the processed bullshit, without all the processed ingredients like soy and seed oils. So guys, check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link is in my description. Don't forget that discount.